Unit 4, Engaging Learners and Meeting the Needs of All Learners, by Michael Demchak. So before I start this video off, I want everyone to know that I've been taking a healthy dose of pain medication, so the results you might see may vary. There might be a rant or two, or maybe even a 4-minute kaleidoscope show. So by now, nearly everyone here in our cohort is secretly jealous of my job. I don't assign quizzes or homework. I don't even know what the Common Core really looks like. I don't have any standardized tests. All I do is pretty much make birdhouses, video games, and even so, the occasional dress. I do, however, have my share of problems. Tech Ed is a unique educational experience. At Jockey Hollow, we consider it an exploratory class, wherein the purpose is to let students explore different experiences, to engage different parts of their minds, enrich their learning, and possibly guide them towards a potential career or passion. Every student goes through the exploratory cycle. This means that through my doors, I receive every type of student imaginable with absolutely zero support. I've been teaching at Jockey Hollow for 3 years now, and I've only ever had one parent enter through my doors. What makes my educational life different is that children are able to cut off a variety of different parts of their body with both amazing speed and ease. My classroom is very different. I provide students with a wide range of technological experiences, and typically students have no prior experience. To structure this video a little bit, let us think of my classroom as two different animals. Let's say a beaver and a chimpanzee. Now the beaver side of my classroom involves the creation of things. Previously, the teacher I replaced, who was a legend, focused the majority of his classroom into the act of woodworking. Why? Because pretty much all students are nearly at 100% levels of engagement. You can walk away and students will literally work for hours. It provides students with a great connection with their hands, provides real-world connections and skills, bestows pride and a feeling of accomplishment, and it's really fun to teach. It's a unique environment because, other than some safety rules and general projects, I let students explore the world of making. However, what I've struggled with historically is not everyone can reach the same level of comfort and proficiency with the machinery. For some, it's a physical limitation. For some, it's mental. And some, even a little of both. Now, what can I do to help these students? Well, this has been a case of reflection, doing research, and asking fellow Tech Ed teachers, as believe it or not, there isn't a huge body of research. Let's talk about the beaver side. The wind spinner versus the helicopter. The wind spinner project is a classic woodworking project that I've implemented recently into my classroom with mixed results. I got the plans for this project from my technology education teacher, Rick Hodis. Rick has been invaluable in my career. He's inspired me when I was a 12-year-old and continues to do so today. The wind spinner is a secret measuring assessment that disguises itself as a fun woodworking project. Hee hee. One of the problems students have with this project is, well, measuring. A 16th-inch scale ruler is a little hard to read for some students. So the first step was securing some simplified rulers that only go down to 1/8 of an inch. Next, students struggle with drilling the holes needed to be completed at each piece. This enables an 8-inch carrot bolt to pass through. Often, students fail to hold the piece down properly, and combined with a fast drilling rate in a table covered with sawdust results in what I call a helicopter. Now, a helicopter is when a piece of wood gets caught in the drill bit and spins at a very rapid rate. For students, this will often result in a good whack of the hand and a lesson learned. However, for some, it causes a sense of fear and anxiety. So, I asked Mr. Hodis how he addresses this problem, and he built a jig. Now, Jigs are really a double-edged sword in which, while they can produce better results, it can also be a crutch. Ha ha! Get it? I'm on crutches. Anyway, jigs can also teach students poor technique and a lack of understanding. But hey, if Mr. Hodis does it, well, why shouldn't I? Sure enough, I made this jig. It secures down the stock and keeps students who struggle a helping hand. In addition, I now also use a table vise that I set up on the other drill as an option to keep students who struggle drilling holes. So let's look at a case study of Kelly and Emma. These girls came to Jockey Hollow for their first year this year. They were the new kids on the block and also identical twins. Now, I was tipped off this year that these two girls were very sensitive to environmental conditions. I was asked if it was appropriate for these girls to have tech ed. Well, I said absolutely. And we'll figure out something fun for them to do. Well, they came this past quarter, and sure enough, they can't do much woodworking in the woodwork lab because the sawdust irritates their skin. Luckily, I offer some other digital projects, but they all required computer skills that these girls didn't quite have yet. So we limped along the quarter with me making as many accommodations as possible, but it wasn't ideal. For example, I set up a jigsaw in the computer lab for them to use, while the other students did the sanding for them. However, again, not ideal. So when independent projects came around, I was really scratching my head and thinking what they can do. Well, sure enough, after talking to them, they were really excited about sewing. In addition, they wanted to try 3D printing. After giving them some tutorials and bringing my own sewing machine from home and some scrap fabric, a quick rundown of how my sewing machine works, and some practice seams, I tipped my hat and wished them good luck. I'd check in on them periodically, and sure enough, their ideas started to take form. They were able to create a beautiful dress with 3D buttons. How cool. It really reminded me of the importance of providing as many options for students to explore and student choice. In addition to meeting the learning needs of students, I've taken some time this past 8 weeks to really look at my room from an outside perspective. How does my room look to a 7th grade girl who walks into my classroom for the first time, surrounded by intimidating power tools and a crazy man hobbling around, laughing like a goose and talking like a Powtoons presentation? After my first formal reflection, I was able to think of some ideas like how to better store paint in the finishing room. Nothing makes me smile like a student spilling a half-gallon of oil-based paint. Students historically have a hard time finding, accessing, pouring, and returning paint to its proper place. I came up with a variety of ideas, and they all worked to some degree, but not perfect. This idea, like all my best ideas, come to me while in the shower. The idea is simply rigging up a closet pole across the painting room and creating the hardware to simply hang the paint. This improvement alone has allowed students to access and use paint easily with a huge reduction of spills and waste. In addition, around the classroom, I've done more labeling of common items, organizing, and beautifying. In addition, I found that middle school girls are amazing at organizing, and they freaking love it. Especially when I give them a Jolly Rancher. Anyways, I continue to add items to the classroom decor to make it middle school appropriate, fun, and try to spur kind of engage in creativity. In addition, I have to put up, and still need to finish, a quick guide to where items are located in the classroom. All these changes have resulted in students able to easily access items on their own. This has increased time on task, confidence, and improved outcomes overall. Now, let's talk about the chimpanzee side of tech ed. One of the resources I was able to check out during my research was the Universal Design for Learning, also known as the UDL. UDL is a set of principles for curriculum development that gave all individuals equal opportunities to learn. It's an amazing resource to explore and gave me some great ideas in my reflection. Checkpoint 5.1 Media for Communications. At the beginning of the 6th grade, the first project is the robotics presentation, where students have to research current robotic technologies, create a presentation, and present. I had a group of students this rotation who didn't feel comfortable speaking in front of the class. They showed me their presentation, and it was great, and at times even funny. It was Friday, and I told them I'd have a solution for them over the weekend. Sure enough, after doing some research, I stumbled upon EduCreations. This tool enabled the students to record their voice over their presentation. They simply exported their Google Slides as a series of JPEGs and recorded their voice, and essentially made a movie of sorts. I admit, I had never provided such an option before, and students who were uncomfortable, I just gave them the old, "Tough it out, build character, good for you, you can do it." Of course, in a loving way. Checkpoint 6.1 Guide Appropriate Goal Setting. Sadly, I haven't been able to implement this as the sequencing of my class and my teaching didn't quite line up. But the idea from this checkpoint really made me reflect in my classroom. The biggest project in my curriculum is the 8th grade independent project. This project typically spans over 2 weeks of class time and enables students to literally make anything. Obviously, there's an asterisk in here. The challenge with this independent project is students having a hard time setting their goals, timeframes, and details on exactly how they're going to complete their project. After students have completed the required work for me, we will sit down and have a quick one-on-one meeting to go over the following. First, setting short, attainable goals. Second, have students meet with complete schematics and drawings. Third, students can access their folder on their own at any time. In addition, the mixing of both short and long-term goals. Students should be able to predict difficulties and try to solve them beforehand. Another UDL framework concept is the idea of representing multiple means of engagement. I do this my best to incorporate various tutorials, screencasts, video lessons, games, whenever I teach. Over this 8-week course, I've added some extra resources where I knew students needed them. For example, I just added a video about Lego instructions and building. Using this digital tool, EasyVid, will provide students with a super clear explanation of building requirements. I used to do this in front of everyone, but I couldn't quite show the class clearly what I wanted to by pointing to a piece of paper. In addition, students who are typically too excited to build and they would be looking at all those shiny Lego parts instead of the message I was trying to deliver. The other part of this reflection is engagement. Now, I'm lucky to teach what I teach because naturally it's engaging. Secondly, I'm also a man-child and relate to when and why students become bored. So I do everything in my power to make my classes fun as possible. I have a prop closet with different outfits and accessories. I crack a huge amount of very terrible jokes. And I have a lot of voices. Yes, some of them are in my head. When it's chimpanzee time, I frame my assessments around video games and other kind of hidden assessments, so students don't really know when they're getting assessed. So while I know there's always room for improvement, this is a particular strength of mine. Anyway, I know I still have a ton of room for improvement, but that's why they refer to teaching as a practice. For we cannot see our reflection in running water. It is only in still water that we can see. That was a Taoist proverb. And I'll be sure to maintain time for reflection in the future as it truly is beneficial to my practice.